Sir.
Doing great. How are you?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the Brooklyn Tea Party Zoom meeting with our special guest, Congressman Lee Zeldin, who is a candidate for governor of the state of New York. And Lee, thank you for joining us today with the Brooklyn Tea Party today. Before we start, just wanted to know, could you just tell us briefly a little bit about yourself for those who might not know who you are?
Yeah, sure thing. It's great to be with everybody. My district is on the east end of Long Island, the first congressional district of New York. Currently serving in my fourth term. Before that, I was in the state senate for 2 terms, 4 years. My background's more the military than elected office. I'm currently serving my 19th year in the Army. I did 4 years on active duty as an Army ROTC commissionee, as a military intelligence officer, before switching over to the JAG Corps. Currently serve as a lieutenant colonel. Married, have identical girls, 15 years old, Michaela and Ariana. And we started running for governor almost a year ago on April 8th of last year. We've got tremendous support from around the state, and we're working hard. I'm actually, after this call, we'll be marching off in the St. Patty's Day Parade in Wantagh. Just came from the St. Patty's Day Parade in Patchogue, but really this is a 62 county campaign. We have to fire Kathy Hochul. We have to take back our government, our country, our state, our future, our freedom. I know exactly what we're fighting for, and I'm sure all of you do as well. So happy to answer any questions you have, and thanks for the invite.
Thank you. What is your main reasons why you decided to run for governor for New York?
We have to save our state. This is a rescue mission to save New York. I'm all in. We all need to be all in everywhere. Everybody, everywhere in all 62 counties. There's no county in this state that's too large, too small for us to aggressively campaign in, take nothing for granted, not waste any opportunity, any moment. And it's one ticket, top down, bottom up. We have to win our congressional races, state senate races, state assembly races. I believe that this November could be the biggest Republican wave of our lifetime, but it's not going to happen on its own. We all have to go out and fight for it. And the reason why I'm running is because I truly feel like we have to save our state. We have to reverse the attacks on our safety, our wallets, our freedoms, our kids' education. And too many people are fleeing the state and heading down south, and we have to reverse that outward migration. And Kathy Hochul and the Democrats aren't going to get the job done.
Well, there's a perfect leading question that you just brought up about people leaving the state. My next question was, what are your economic plans for bringing our state back from the brink of collapse, with companies leaving our state and people leaving the state in droves?
On the policy front, we have to cut taxes across the board. It's not just income taxes, but income taxes certainly would be right up there at the top. There's a lot of wasteful spending in our state into the billions. There's opportunities that get lost when Democratic politicians are chasing Amazon out of Queens. If you don't tap into what can be a safe extraction of natural gas upstate, approving new pipelines, bring down energy costs, reduce the cost of living, create jobs, generate revenue. There are so many industries. That is an example of one of them. As we see, when we cut off Russian oil imports into our country, we shouldn't be running off to Iran and Venezuela. We should be taking it as an opportunity to tap into our own supply safely and to become energy independent. New York can become energy independent as a state. We could be exporting to other states. We could even be exporting to other countries. There's so much opportunity there on the tax side, the regulatory side, the culture side of being open for business, and also to grow, to let the economy prosper and rip by just unleashing what are natural resources and opportunities within our own borders.
Absolutely. Now, you brought up oil. One of our questions is this: with the price of oil on the rise, and I just paid home heating oil, I almost fell off my chair when I saw the bill at $948 for a 3-family house to fill up for 150 gallons. With the price of oil on the rise, would you be for ideas like fracking in our state?
When I talked about just now the safe extraction of natural gas,
Mhm.
it's something that can be done safely. We sit on the Marcellus Shale, we sit on the Utica Shale. The left tries to scare politicians in Albany, both politically and also making them think that this extraction can't be done safely. But this same resource, these same shales are being tapped into in neighboring states because the shale isn't just in New York. By the way, Marcellus, Utica, these are New York towns that these shales are named after. In other states, they're doing it safely. And I believe here in New York, we can be doing it safely as well. In Albany, the trend is for the opposite. They want to ban all gas hookups on new construction, like they did inside of New York City.
Right.
They want to cut off pipeline access and applications, like they did in Williams Pipeline with de Blasio and Jumaane Williams and AOC all tag teaming that. And then what happens is Con Ed, National Grid decide in the city that they're going to ban natural gas hookups. Meanwhile, we should be green lighting new pipelines in the state and making sure that this resource is being able to spread to all New Yorkers in need.
Absolutely. What are your plans for education? Are you for school choice, for example?
I am. I believe that kids shouldn't be stuck in poor performing public schools. Competition is good. We shouldn't be using kids as guinea pigs stuck in multi-generational poverty in these poor performing schools. Lift the cap on charter schools. Allow these students to be able to access other opportunities, other options to be able to get a quality education. We should not have in our schools any divisive curriculum like CRT or otherwise that pits students against other students. Parents should be encouraged to be more involved in their kids' education. I believe that parents have a fundamental right to control the upbringing of their child, and they don't relinquish that right by sending their kids off to school. We shouldn't be getting rid of the merit-based entry into the specialty schools in the city. We shouldn't get rid of advanced academics like gifted and talented in the name of equity, which the Democrats are pushing for. There's a lot of ways for us to turn things around with education in New York, and it's not that difficult to figure out.
Absolutely. What are your plans then for the healthcare of all New Yorkers? You have any detailed plans or?
Yeah, with regards to Medicaid, we could be delivering the service in much more efficient fashion. There's a lot of money that gets wasted into the billions. We also saw with the conversion to manage long-term care in this state several years ago, a lot of money gets wasted. There's this belief that if you're a for-profit, you're the devil. If you're a nonprofit, you are always doing God's work. There are bad for-profits, there are good nonprofits, there are bad nonprofits, there are good for-profits. But up in Albany, the way that they look to tip the scales and eliminate competition, eliminate options that would drive down costs, that would increase access and standard. I believe that Albany is really doing this all wrong, and it's ended up costing billions of extra dollars every year in order to do it.
Absolutely. Are you for or against the vaccine passports? And do you believe that the citizens have the right to choose their own healthcare decisions, just like how women have the right to choose their body, their choice, their healthcare decision? Do you think that New York State should force workers to have the vaccine to continue to work at their jobs?
I'm against the vaccine passport. I'm against making the COVID shot mandatory in order to work. I believe that everyone who's been fired should get their jobs back with back pay. I'm against all the COVID mandates that exist, including inside of New York City, kids under 5 still having to be masked up. We're about to see the start of baseball season, and whether it's Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets or Mets and Yankee players having to get the shot, even though visiting players don't. The hypocrisy, the lack of science, common sense is something that's a stark contrast between Kathy Hochul and I. But I believe that the decision of whether or not to get the shot is between you and your doctor.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. What is your position on the attempted rezoning of single-family neighborhoods to include multifamily units, which would destroy places like Long Island and other suburbs?
totally opposed to this push to eliminate single-family housing zoning inside of the state legislature. Albany Hochul was pushing it in her executive budget proposal. It's a really bad idea. I'm someone who subscribes to the belief that New Yorkers want less local control. They want more local control. The single-family housing zone should be DOA, and it should never be brought back for consideration again in the future.
Okay, thank you. How would you, as governor, address the issue of the cashless bail, which is putting criminals back on the streets right after they just committed the crime, while the police officers that arrested them is still filling out the paperwork while they are committing their next criminal act? Now we also see Kathy Hochul trying to change her tune a little with the little giving back on that issue. What's your ideas on that? How would you get that eliminated? Or
I believe
what could you do?
Yeah, I believe cashless bail should be repealed. A judge should have discretion to weigh dangerousness and flight risk and past criminal record and seriousness of the offense. Kathy Hochul's proposal a day or two ago, which was based off of bad poll numbers and getting roasted at Madison Square Garden, and just having a lot of political shock hit her world over the course of a few short days.
Yeah.
She only wants to make the change for what she describes the most serious felonies. I believe that we should be applying that discretion standard for all of these different crimes. She's talking about the option of arrest when you go out and commit an additional offense after you're released on cashless bail the first time. You wouldn't even have the issue of somebody going out and committing that second offense if you just have the right law in place initially when someone's first arrested. So she has it all wrong. She's trying to thread the needle. She's trying to be cute, too cute for half with this. She's not doing it based on merit. She should have put it in her executive budget proposal, but she actually did more damage than anyone else to block it. And she said that she needed to see more data, even though we all saw all the stories in the news. We had plenty of data.
Yeah.
She's covering for her district attorneys like Alvin Bragg and saying we should cut him some slack. She has public safety all wrong.
Absolutely. How would you deal, well, speaking of public safety, how would you deal with the state's homeless population who are on our subways, and with a lot of them having mental issues? Would you also look into having more mental health facilities opened again, unlike what Governor Cuomo, the senior, did years ago when he closed all the mental institutions and let them all out into the streets to be a homeless population? Now that was 20, almost 30 years ago. Now we have a different influx of people coming into our state from various different states that are making up our homeless population, but a lot of them have mental issues and they need proper treatment to take care of what their issues are, so they're not on the subways committing crimes and throwing people in front of an oncoming train.
100% agree with the way you just put that. And the goal needs to be not to put somebody into a shelter or any type of other setting. It's about getting them out. It's about getting them in and getting help if they have issues with mental health, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. They need to get on their feet. They need extra assistance. Some people, by the way, can't be helped.
Right.
But just because some people can't be helped doesn't mean that we shouldn't be efficiently going after all of the other opportunities to be able to help those who can get back on their feet, live clean, independent lives. They need assistance in order to be able to get it done. The mentality that we should just put a roof over someone's head and call it a day and call that a success is cutting everybody and everything short in the state. They're closing prisons down all across the state in New York right now. 6 just closed about a week ago. These are locations that can be used for other purpose instead of just letting it fall into disrepair, being abandoned. So we have to look at this with a vision, with a plan, because there is an incredible opportunity to get people help and they could get their lives back on track, and it will save money in the long run. But we have to be smart in how we do it. And we can't just think that the victory is putting a roof over someone's head and calling it a day if they're not getting the help they need to actually take care of themselves.
Absolutely. Under your governorship, will the state of New York still be a sanctuary state for illegal aliens who commit crimes?
I don't support sanctuary state, sanctuary city policies. I would not support sanctuary state city policies here in New York. It's a bad idea. I believe that my duty, first and foremost, above all else, is protecting, defending, fighting for law-abiding, hardworking New Yorkers. And unfortunately, you see people in power who have their priorities all backwards, and they think that they're there to fight first and foremost for criminals, for people who are illegally in the country. I have a totally different approach and outlook, view, principles towards all that.
Mhm. Very good. Could you tell us the Republican primary? Could you tell the Republican primary voters why they should vote for you over your other opponents?
Well, for one, without repeating anything we already talked about, everyone get a better idea of who I am, my background, military, Congress, values, hard work. We have now been endorsed by the Republican Party, endorsed by the Conservative Party. I will be on the Conservative Party line in November. Was unanimously voted the Conservative Party candidate. At the Republican Party convention, we received over 85% of the vote. We know how to win. I've won 7 consecutive races now in purple New York City suburban districts. I took out an incumbent for the state Senate, a Democrat, who between him and his father were there for 30 years. In 2014, I had a Republican primary. They spent over $4 million against us in that district. We won by over 20 points. That November, we took out a 6-term, 12-year incumbent Democrat. And they came after us every time since. We know how to win by earning the votes, not just of Republicans, but independents and Democrats. We have a plan from election day backwards. We have a great team, great chemistry, work ethic. No one can outwork me. In our first 6 months of this campaign, I had already campaigned at least twice in every in every county in the whole state. Many of these counties, far more than that, and we just keep on going. So between work ethic, background, values, vision, plan, execution. I mean, as far as polling goes, we had a poll as the New York Post released this past Monday where we were up by 1.5 over Kathy Hochul, 45.5 to 44. 2 days later, New York Post reported a primary poll. We're up by 31 points in a potential Republican Party primary. We are all in, pedal to the metal, not looking back, and we plan on winning this race in November. And I would love to be able to do it with the support of everyone on this call.
Absolutely. And speaking of the poll numbers, now you have someone like Governor Cuomo, Andrew, thinking about putting his hat in the ring in regards to either running in the Democrat primary or possibly running as an independent. If he runs as an independent, what's your thoughts on how your chances would increase in actual winning?
Yeah, so I mean, unselfishly, Andrew Cuomo needs to be as far away from politics as possible, as far away from power as possible. He's very fortunate he's not in a prison cell right now, as well as some of these other people who are around him. Selfishly, if he runs a third-party race, he's on the ballot, in addition to Kathy Hochul, our margin of victory only increases because he's pulling his votes away from Kathy Hochul. Yes. We feel confident in our ability to win in November without Andrew Cuomo on a third-party line. If he's on the third-party line, the margin only goes up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lee, for joining us. We appreciate your time. We know you have another engagement to be at with the St. Patrick's Day Parade that you're going to. We thank you for your time, and we wish you continued success. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Thanks for your leadership.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Shari, you could end the recording.